or Yahuwah, I mean, Yah, YashaYahu, chapter 8, from the BYNV. Yes, that's the book for me. I stand upon the word of Yahuwah, the BYNV. Okay, verse 1. And Yahuwah said to me, take a large tablet and write on it with a man's pen concerning Maher, Maher, Shalal, Cash, Bez, and let him take reliable witness to record your, it's Uri, your Uriah the priest, and Yahu, son of Zebur, Zebrick Yahu. And I went to the prophetess, and she conceived and bore a son. Did you hear that? Prophetess. Prophetess. And Yahuwah said to me, call his name Maher. No, Maher, because it's Maher. Maher. Shalai. Cash. Kash. Baz. Baz. For before the child knows to cry, my father, and before the child knows to cry, my father and my mother, the riches of Damascus and the spoil of Shamaron is taken away before the sovereign of Ashur. And Yahuwah spoke to me again, saying, inasmuch as these people refuse the mayim, or the waters, of Shiloh, Shiloh, that flow softly, and rejoice in Retsin, and in Ramal Yahu's son. Now therefore see, Yahuwah brings up over them the mayim of the rivers. So he floods them out, right? Strong and mighty, the sovereign of Ashur. Well, it sounds like he runs them out with the sovereign of Ashur. Ashur. And all his esteem, and he shall come up over all the channels and go over all its breaks, all his breaks. I said this is about a campaign where the children of Israel, at that time is not called Israel, but the children of God, of Yahuwah, are going to be invaded because they're not happy with the soft flowing rivers of Shiloh. Then he's going to cause a raging river to come and overtake them, the sovereign of Ashur. Verse 5. And he shall pass through Yehuda. He shall overflow and pass over, reaching up to the neck, and the stretching out of his wings shall fill the breadth of the land. O Emmanuel. That's very interesting. And over the land, O Emmanuel. So he's talking about a winged creature, talking about Ashur coming against them, overflowing them and passing over them, and reaching up to the neck. The water's reaching up to the neck. And stretching out his wings shall fill the breadth of the land. So this is a big, big creature, right? O Elohim. Pardon me, not Elohim. Em, Emmanuel. Emmanuel. That's what they called him. Emmanuel is what the angel said, and thou shalt call his name Emmanuel. Very interesting. That's here in Isaiah chapter 8, verse 9. He scattered, O you people. Be scattered, O you people, and be broken in pieces. Give ear, all you from the far places of the Eretz. Gird yourself, but be broken in pieces. Gird yourself, but be broken in pieces. He says it twice. Take counsel and it comes to nothing. In other words, you can talk about it, but you're not going to be able to figure this one out. Take counsel and it comes to nothing. Speak a word and it does not stand. For all, or Almighty, right, is with us. Here it says Emmanuel means all is with us. Verse 11. For Yahuwah spoke thus to me with a strong hand and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, do not say a conspiracy concerning all the people. Do not say a conspiracy concerning all that this people call a conspiracy, nor be afraid of their threats, nor be troubled. In other words, some of it's not a conspiracy, but don't be afraid, right? Verse 13. Yahuwah Sabaoth, that means Yahuwah of armies. Him you shall set apart. Him you shall honor, right? Let him be your fear. If you need something to fear Yahuwah, right? And let him be your dread. Verse 14. And he shall be for a set apart place, but a stone of stumbling and a rock that makes for falling to both the houses of Israel, as a trap and a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And many among them shall stumble and fall and be broken and snared and taken. And taken, do you get that? And taken. There's where we get that rapizio from. But this time they're taken because they don't want to believe in the Messiah, right? Because we don't, he tells us a lot about him. But then we read Isaiah where he's got wings that span across the whole breadth of the country in of Israel. And that kind of makes you go, maybe I don't know Emmanuel, right? Maybe I don't know Yahusha. Okay, verse 16. Bind up the witness seal the Torah among my Talmudim. So, in other words, only let the Talmudim understand this, right? And I shall wait on Yahuwah, who hides his face from the house of Jacob, which is Jacob, and I shall look for him. Look, I and the children whom Yahuwah has given me, for signs and wonders in Yisrael from Yahuwah Sabaoth, who dwells in Mount Zion. And when they say to you, seek those who are mediums and wizards and whisperers of mutterer, should not a people seek their Elohim? Should not a people seek their God, in other words, instead of these false ones? Should they seek the dead on behalf of the living? Yeah, why would you go and talk to someone who's speaking to evil spirits, right? Verse 20. To the Torah and to the witness, if they do not speak according to the word, it is because they have no light of dawn. It means that you measure everything that you hear. Everyone that speaks to you and says a word, you measure it, right? Verse 21. And they shall pass through it hard pressed and hungry. And it shall be, when they are hungry, that they shall be wroth and curse their sovereign and their Elohim, looking upward. So not until they're hungry will they look for the one true God by looking up, right? They look laterally instead of they look horizontally rather than laterally, until they're hungry and angry, which is going to be hard to be around people like that. But he's going to allow people to hunger so that they will seek him. Verse 20. I can't tell. I think that's 24. Or maybe it's 22. It's 22. And they shall look to the Eretz and see distress and darkness, gloom and hard times, and be driven into thick darkness. Yeah, everybody's been prophesying the 3 days of darkness is coming. Well, interesting, right? Let's just say that. Because you cannot call conspiracy everything that is called conspiracy in this time. That's one of the verses that I just read. And that was verse 3. No, where is it? No, it's over here. A conspiracy. That's verse 12. That says, do not call a conspiracies all that the people call conspiracy. In other words, some of it is real. What else did I get from this? Okay, where he says that he overflows them. So I'm a little confused because it speaks of this. Yahuwah brings, so it just like he brought the Chaldeans, it says Yahuwah brings over the Mayim, that means over the people of the river, strong and mighty, the sovereign of Ashur. This is a false god. And all his esteem. And that's already really happened already. He's allowed all of us to fall into this stream of Zeus like stuff. And he shall come up over all the channels and go over all his banks. And he shall pass through Yehuda. He shall overflow and pass over, reaching up to the neck. And stretching out his wings shall fill the breadth of your land, O Emmanuel. And then it says, be scattered, O you people. So this is when he scattered them, broken into pieces. Give ear, let all you from the far places of the Eretz gird yourself. So he wants you to pull up your bootstraps, right? But be broken, because they're not honoring the true one God, right? They were not satisfied with a peaceful river. They were not satisfied with peace and safety of having Elohim in their midst, I guess. But then it says, Yahuwah Sabaoth, him shall set apart. In other words, don't be afraid of what Yahuwah has sent against your people. Let him be your fear. Let Yahuwah be your fear. That way you don't catch yourself fearing something else. Let him be your dread. But you know that Yahuwah, Sabaoth, Yahusha, Hamashiach, he is a stone of stumbling to both the houses of Israel.
Go take a shower now.
I've never stopped you, son. And the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And we know that this is true, that they're still not accepting the true Messiah. Some of them are. Many among them shall stumble and fall and be broken and snared and taken. Broken and snared and taken. Taken by what? Taken by the spirit of Ashur that's above them, that's spread out over the land. And then it says, bind up this writing for my Talmudium, for those, his followers, his close followers, his seekers, right? And seal my Torah. Well, I'm still puzzled. You know? And it says here that Yahuwah he hides his face. He says, we wait on Yahuwah who hides his face from the house of Jacob or Israel, right? And I shall look for him. So we seek him even though his wrath is being poured out on us, right? And I felt this was personal when we got to this verse. It says, "Look, I and the children whom Yahuwah has given me for signs and for wonders." I really felt like that was for me because of the things that are going on in my household. That I've already raised a set of kids, but now I'm trying to raise this second set of kids, and I feel like I feel like that I'm doing a harder thing, much harder thing than I was 10 years ago when I raised my first batch. Well, 20 years ago when I started my first batch of kids. But this batch of kids is so much harder to raise. And it says he's given us the children I and the children whom Yahuwah have given me. So it's a woman and her children, right? For signs and for wonders from Yahuwah Sabaoth, Yahuwah of armies, who dwells in Mount Zion. And then when someone says for you to seek mediums or wizards or who whisper and mutter, seek about your children because you found out you're a sign. Their children are a sign and wonder to you and the nations. Should not a people seek their Elohim, not the dead? You should never seek the dead on behalf of the living. Now, I've pretty much read this chapter twice. To the Torah and to the witness, if they do not speak according to the word. So if you have a spirit that speaks to you, this is testing. Test spirits. You read this verse. If they do not speak according to this word, it is because they have no light of dawn. And they shall pass through it hard, pressed, and hungry. And it shall be when they are hungry, that they shall be wroth and curse their sovereign, their king, right? Their leader. And their gods. And then looking upward, and they shall look at the Eretz, and see distress and darkness, and gloom and dark times, and be driven into the darkness. I wonder if that means that he's going to drive them into the dark side of the earth for seeking mediums rather than seeking Yahuwah. He could. He could very well. I thought that was going to be easy chapter. And, at the beginning there, it seems that God told him to call his son's name this weird four-letter name. I mean, four-word name. And how did he get the son? Is because he went to the prophetess and conceived and bore a son. And is this Isaiah that had the son, or is this? It says, "Take a large tablet and write with a man's pen concerning this person's name." That has five names, and let me take reliable witness to the record. Okay, so this is what Yahuwah said to him. I went to the prophetess, and she conceived and bore a son. And Yahuwah said to me, call his name Maher, Mayor Shalal Cash Bez. So I don't understand if, and then before the child can speak, that before the child could speak, Damascus would be ruined, right? And Yahuwah spoke to me again and saying, so it's a timing thing. Damascus will be ruined before this child can speak. So that's going to come still, because it hasn't been completely spoiled and ruined. It has been overran several times, though. Many, many times. They're still fighting over it. So these people, he says, Yahuwah spoke to me and said, saying, inasmuch as these people refuse the Mayim of Shiloh, so the Mayans of the peaceful, softly peaceful flowing river, right? They refuse peace. So refuse to serve in peace. So that's what happens now? I don't know. Gotta look up this name and see what it means. This foreign name. Let me see what it means. I'm sorry for spending much time with this, but it's very interesting.